1 week is all that remains between us and the international release of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, the direct sequel to one of the most critically acclaimed JRPGs in gaming history. A game that was released over 7 years ago from today. A game that many, myself included, claim is a masterpiece. And this sequel has very high expectations to live up to just based on its predecessor's standards alone. And while I am not the first, nor will I be the last person to talk about this topic, I just wanted to throw in my 2 cents on the one thing that I feel is pushing at least a couple of people away from this potentially amazing game, and that is the art style. What's up guys, it's Weather Choice the Omniblade here to give you guys my thoughts on the art style of Xenoblade Chronicles 2, because the last thing I want to see happen to this game is for it to pull another Wind Waker. Now let me explain what I mean by pulling a Wind Waker. By this point, I'm sure that many of you are familiar with the infamous 2000 Space World tech demo that showed Link and Ganondorf fighting in the most realistic graphics available at the time, and how many Zelda fans anticipated this art style would be used in the next GameCube Zelda. The following year at Space World, a more representative version of Wind Waker's art style was shown through another tech demo, and fans hated it. Now let's talk about Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and its fan reception before the game's release. So back at the Switch presentation all the way back at the beginning of 2017, we saw this game for the first time. No one had even known it was being developed, there was no mention of it ever. This was the first time the world was going to be introduced to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and reception was mixed to say the least. Many fans like myself of the Xeno series were excited for the fact that this game was getting a sequel, a direct one nonetheless, but the art style was definitely a bit off-putting. What I mean to say is, the faces. The faces looked a bit bland? I don't really know how to describe it, but they definitely looked like they were a bit painted on, or just kind of this dead, lifeless look that they kind of had in Xenoblade Chronicles X, but it did have a reason for being that way in X, so we assumed it would just be explained better, or that they would hopefully just improve over time. Lo and behold, we come to the E3 trailer, and all of our fears have been dissuaded. At least for the most part. While a lot of the issues regarding the art style were more or less cleared up, as you saw a lot more detail in the faces of the characters this time around, 3 things distracted people in the E3 trailer. 1 and 2 were Pyra, and the 3rd thing was the voice acting. Okay, no matter what I do or say, I'm not going to be able to avoid this, so you know what? Just play the damn meme now, let's just get this out of the way. Take this! And that brings us to now. Honestly, I just want to see this game succeed. I want people to be able to give it a fair chance. I understand that the anime aesthetic might be off-putting for some people, but when they say things like, oh, the original wasn't that anime, or I don't like this style that much, it makes me question a few things, because I feel that people really overemphasize the anime features, or lack thereof as some people say, in Xenoblade, as I feel the art style of the original Xenoblade captures this nice middle ground between anime and realistic. I'm not saying that Xenoblade Chronicles looks realistic by any means. I mean, the game has muddy textures, but the art style makes it so that those areas still look impressive enough even after all this time. You cannot go to Gar Plain and Satoru Marsh and tell me that those areas are just not breathtakingly beautiful and just gorgeous with the lush fields and the atmosphere of Satoru Marsh. I mean, these are just perfect examples of the art style working with a game as opposed to against it. However, I feel that the design of the Homs races in general keeps it to that more grounded level that's not really anime, but a bit more familiar for a Western audience. The Homs are nothing but simple human beings, and they have pretty basic clothes all things considered. Shulk doesn't really have anything too outlandish about him. Ryan may be in a tank top and have a giant shield for a weapon, but all things considered, he's just wearing regular cargo pants. Fiora's got on a skirt and a regular top, and all of the characters more or less follow this trend aside from Melia and Ricky. Why? Because they're of different races. Melia is of the Hyentia race, which is known to be a bit flashier just because of its natural appearance. I mean, they have wings on their heads, for crying out loud. You're gonna have to push it a little bit farther in terms of the creativity department when it comes to their designs. As for Ricky, he's a dang Nopon. They're little fuzzballs. Of course they're gonna look a bit different and cutesy-wootsy and stuff like that. It just works for them. And that's one thing I feel that the original Xenoblade captures perfectly. They know how to design things in order to make it work for the situation. The voice acting, the voice directing, the music, the backgrounds, all of it flows perfectly in all of the cutscenes and environments you were put into in this game. So I don't see why people can't expect it to work in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. It's already been stated that this game wants to achieve that more lighthearted atmosphere, so why not use a more anime aesthetic art style for that? It captures it perfectly. The eyes and the expressions, we've already seen this in some of the cutscenes. They lend themselves to more expressive emotions and for a bit more humorous cutscenes. I mean, come on, that whole scene with just Pyra being too heavy for Rex to pick up, that scene was hilarious, and all the expressions on Rex's faces and everyone else and the voice acting, it all just works so perfectly there. Now, just because Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has the lighthearted scenes down packed, doesn't mean that it can't do serious scenes as well. This is where I want to invoke Wind Waker, because even though it had the cartoony art style, it did serious scenes just as well. Just look at any scene that Ganondorf is in. Despite the new cartoony look, Ganondorf is just as intimidating a presence in this game as he was in any other. And entering Hyrule for the first time is an absolutely chilling experience. The empty ambience is not hampered by the Moblin statues in the area, but instead they add to the ominous vibes there because they can give such detailed expressions thanks to the art style. And that brings me back full circle to what I want to really get at the heart of this video. Just because a game has a certain art style doesn't mean that it can't do any type of scene well. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 has the potential to be just as good as the original, if not even surpass it, which I know is a really tall thing to order from this game, but I feel this game has a great amount of potential. I love the art style, I love the voice acting, I love the environments, the gameplay looks just as deep and complex as the original, but with some added new tweaks for balancing as well. Everything about this game just looks like it appeals to me on so many levels, and I want other people to understand why myself and so many others are excited for this game. Please, if you have a Switch and you're looking for a new game to add after the amazingness that was Odyssey, consider adding this to your library. I want you to give it a chance, and hopefully it will be a decision you do not regret. If nothing else, you have the hilarious maid scene with Tora and Poppy.
Poppy?
How may I be of service, Master?